Hello guys, I hope you are all fine. So we discussed about module 2 part 3 in previous video, and in this video we'll look into that module 3 part 1 section. So module 3, interview guidelines and research methodologies. Part 1, before the interview process and guidelines. Section 1, about before the interview terminologies. Section 2, flowchart of pre-planned interview directions. Section 3, explanations of flowchart on pre-planned methodologies. So we'll discuss about this video, the module 3, part 1 section. So we'll move to the next slide to explain about the part 1 section. Just will move to the next slide. Module 3, interview guidelines and research methodologies. Part 1, before the interview process and guidelines. Section 1, about before the interview terminology. So the candidate or unemployed people should research the employment of the service. The employer or interviewer will be asking the questions for knowing the agencies or not. The job seeker must know the employment type and service which the company provides to better fit in the organization. If the candidate is looking for the job of engineer, but the company provides manufacturing and support activities that will not be relevant to the candidate. In the government sector, if you wish to apply for a doctor jobs, you should be an MBBS holder which will fit the requirement. And the requirement of the private or public agencies and candidates should match each other. So basically, section 1 is talks about the skills and knowledge of the candidate should match the requirement of the any organization, either is private or public firms. It is also telling about that the candidate should be in the expert in the particular areas to apply the jobs in the organization, and in the same time the organization also will be looking the same skills and setup of the requirement announced by the organization. So before attending the interview, the candidate should know that the company profile and the types of company and the types of services is offering by the organization. And next slide, we'll move to the section 2 to talk about section 2. We'll move to the next slide. Section 2, flowchart of pre-planned interview directions. So here, engineer qualifications and BTech in computer science. So these are the candidates for this degree or this profile going to attend the interview for the types of the private or government sector requirement computer engineer. So this flow is showing that whoever the candidate having the degree of computer BTech MCA, they can only suitable for the jobs of computer engineer requirement in the private or government sector jobs. So this second, this doctor qualification MD in orthopedic or any specialization will be fit in the requirement of the organization like hospital, medical sector requirement, ortho specialist. So this flow is telling that here the candidate of the BTech in computer science or computer science degree holder cannot attend the interview of ortho specialist jobs because this will not be fit for the each candidate and the organization. And the doctor who is the MBBS degree, he will not fit as a job of computer engineer. So this flow is diagram is showing who are the same profile go for the same types of company jobs. So section 3 is explanation of flow chart on pre-planned methodologies. The specific skill candidate fit the requirement of an employer who has applied for jobs in the same requirement of job type in private or government sector. For example, doctors who have a specialization in orthopedic are fit for the job type of a specialist in hospital. He will not fit in a support of or any insurance sector. As similarly, engineer will not fit in the hospital to check the patient diseases. So these are the section 3 describes about the requirement of the candidate and the requirement of the organization should match each other to success the any interview process to get the right selected candidate and the right selected organization. So next we'll move to the next slide. So end of part 1 we have learned module 3 interview guidelines and research methodologies, and we have learned part 1 before the interview process and guidelines. We have learned section 1 about before the interview terminology. We have learned section 2 flow chart of pre-planned interview directions. We have learned section 3 explanation of flow chart on pre-planned methodologies. So we have covered in this video module 3 part 1 sections. So in the next video, we'll be looking into the module 3 part 2 section. Thank you.